welcome back to a tutorial on how to build a emailer using Python for beginners. So when we last left off, we looked at basically adding a dictionary, and I actually want to correct something I made a mistake of in the last video, where I wrote, so the original line that I wrote was without this open, and in Python you actually need to open the file first. And so you can open a file with the open function, and you put the name of the file inside your function. And so I've corrected that here. And one thing I actually want to go over is you can do something called a format string. So if you put in front of your quotes the letter F, this makes Python strings something called a format string, where if you use brackets, you'll be able to insert variables. So this open and close brackets, inside I can insert a variable, and so I'm going to put my secrets username here, and so it'll be from my email address. And for this too, I'm also going to put secrets username, although we're going to change this later. So we're going to send a test email to ourselves. So subject test email. Here I'm also going to send secrets username, so I can send an email to myself, and I'll say hello world from our first email. And so I'm going to bring up a terminal, and once again you'll want to activate your virtual environment. You don't have to, because we're only using built-in libraries. But if I run the Python program, it should take a couple seconds and it should run. And if I open up my email here, we'll see that the email has successfully been sent. Hello world from our first email. Perfect. So now that we have our first email being sent, you're going to want to start thinking about how can you tie this all together. So remember that send mail allows us to send one email, and so maybe we want to send multiple emails, and we want to send to a list of email addresses. So one thing we want to know is, in the first episode we actually talked about the fact that sending an email requires you to or at least for Gmail, there's a limit. You can't send more than approximately 20 emails per minute or something like that, and 500 emails per day. I'm not sure what the exact limit is, but thankfully Python provides us a library called time, and time has a function called sleep that allows us to pause our program. So I'm going to import the sleep function here, and while we're at it, I'm actually going to replace our imports with the corresponding load function. Import load. Actually, I'm going to change my mind on this one. So it's easier for the reader, I'm going to just import time directly. And over here, so between our server login and our server close, we actually want to think about how we're going to be sending our email. Okay, so I'm going to comment this out, this line here. And you want to remember that maybe we have a list of users that we want to send an email to. Let's say our recipients, or recipients. And we can define a list, and here you can see I've separated my list in multiple lines, so it's going to be easier to read. And for each item in the list, you want to maybe define an email address. So we can be like, person1 at example.com, then person2 at example.com, then person3 at example.com, and so on and so forth. And in future episodes, we're actually going to be talking about how we can extend this further. And so I can be like, for recipient in recipients, I'm pretty sure I spelled recipient wrong, but in the next video we'll fix it. I'll look it up between videos. I can be like server.send mail secrets username, and then recipient, and then email. And we're going to have to modify the email so this to is different. And so if I move this down, instead of secrets to username, we actually want to modify this variable so it's recipient. And yeah, that's going to be it for this episode. In this episode, you learned how to, I guess, basically send an email to multiple people using a for loop. And we're going to be talking about how to use the time library in the next video.